Well, certainly we'd like to start at home one of these years, but there are a lot of different factors that go into it, and so we'll just have to say we need a lot of Steeler fans to travel up to Buffalo week 1.
Hi everybody, I'm Missi Matthews and welcome to the Steelers schedule release special presented by UPMC. There you heard Steelers President Art Rooney II. You'll hear from him throughout our entire show. So let me welcome in now Mike Prisuta as we give you the Steelers full schedule. We heard Art talking there about starting on the road for week 1 and just taking a broad overview. Yes, that would be 7 straight years, week 1 on the road, not home at Heinz Field. But when you look at the full schedule, what sticks out to you the most?
Well, 2 things. And first, let me just follow up on what Art had to say by adding that, to me, Buffalo is one of the more underappreciated towns in America in terms of having fun there, particularly in September as opposed to December. And number 2, if you're going up, watch that speed trap around Angola, New York. I can speak from a little experience there, too. But looking at that start, yeah, they're on the road. But even though they're on the road to begin, Missy, 6 of the first 9 at home, and after that first road game, 6 of 8 at home. So chance to make a little hay while the sun is shining early, and that might be a good idea because you look at those last 4 games, and that is a pretty strong finishing kick, at least if those teams that they're playing at the end of the year resemble anything like we think they're going to resemble right now.
All right, of course, what everybody looks at after you figure out where the bye week is, which of course this year it is week 7, is the primetime games. The Steelers have 5. That is the maximum heading into the season. Here's Art with more on that.
I would say that all things considered, I don't have too many complaints. Maybe the only complaint I have is playing the Sunday night game out in California, which they seem to like to put us on the game with the Chargers as a night game more often than not. It's kind of a mixed bag. Obviously, the night games are a little tougher for the fans, but we also get the benefit of a big national audience, and our fans around the country get to tune in. So we'll take as many primetime games as we can get, all things considered.
And here is a look, at the 5 on tap for the 2021 season. 2 on Sunday Night Football, 1 home, 1 away. 2 on Monday Night Football. They are both at Heinz Field, and then Thursday Night Football on the road. So just your thoughts on the big games, as they like to call them.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I just kind of count on they're going to play 5 primetime games. The ratings are important, and the Steelers generate the ratings, and that's just kind of what you got to deal with if you're the Steelers. But interesting array of games in primetime this year for sure.
All right, we know there is an additional regular season game this year, so let's kind of go through it in chunks. I don't want to call it quarters because it doesn't work evenly anymore as it used to do as we're doing it. So let's look at the first slate of games as we sit here today. At Buffalo, as we said, Raiders will be at Heinz Field for the home opener. Some AFC North action with the Bengals week 3 and that at Lambeau week 4. Broncos back at Heinz Field for the second year in a row. Your thoughts on those games?
Yeah, just to follow up, we're playing at home a lot early, so hopefully everybody's healthy coming out of camp. They can get on top of their game quickly. And, by the way, if people like to travel, there's nothing like Lambeau Field. Nothing like Lambeau Field.
All right, let's go to our next chunk of games, and this will include the Steelers' bye week. As I said, that is week 7. But week 6, that is the first primetime game, Sunday Night Football versus the Seahawks. Russell Wilson coming into town. And then we have the Browns, the first matchup with them. The Bears, that's another primetime game on Monday Night Football, and then followed by the Lions.
Yeah, and one of the things you want to make sure, well, you can't make sure, but one of the things you hope for is that when you're coming out of your bye, you're not playing a team that's coming out of its bye or had played the last Thursday night, because you get a little bit less bang for your buck in terms of rest advantage. I haven't checked anybody else's schedule yet, but decent time for the bye. You'd probably prefer it a little later, but you take it where you can get it.
It would be better than earlier in the season, but let's hope it stays where it is. Now, looking at the next chunk, this is where that LA Chargers game comes into play that we heard Art talking about. Also, the other matchup with the Bengals, some Ravens, and then the Thursday night matchup, the Steelers are going to head to Minnesota for that one. So coming off of a physical game against the Ravens, then heading on the road for Thursday night.
Yeah, and here you find a couple of perceived disadvantages, or at least things that coaches would prefer not to see. Nobody wants to play that Thursday night road game. Somebody does. It's tough to play somebody has to, I should say. It's tough to play Sunday and then go on the road Thursday. And then that game that Art was talking about at the LA Chargers on Sunday night, and then on the road again the following week. Now, it's just Cincinnati. It's not like they have to go cross country again, but that's still going to be challenging for the coaching staff to come back from a trip to the coast and then get ready for another road game after that.
Yeah, and it's the Bengals, then the Ravens, and then that short week against the Vikings. So you can see where this back end's starting to get a little maybe undesirable. Looking at the next slate of games, the Titans, that is a 1 o'clock game, week 15, then at the Chiefs the day after Christmas, and then finishing out with divisional play, that would be with the Browns, and then at the Ravens. That's the second time in 3 years the Steelers are closing out in Baltimore.
Yeah, and another bit of a little disadvantage leading into that regular season finale. That follows a Monday night game against Cleveland. That's a home game, but still a short week for what could potentially be a huge game for the Steelers. And then those last four teams, Missy, when they have to finish against Tennessee, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Baltimore. You know, usually 5, 6, 7 teams change over from the playoffs one year to the next. That teams that made it the previous year don't make it the next year, and vice versa. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Tennessee, Kansas City, Cleveland, and Baltimore are all going to be pretty good this year. So they better be playing their best ball when it matters most. What's that Mike Tomlin likes to say? It's December. They remember. But
December football.
January's going to resonate as well, at least the first couple of weeks of it for sure.
All right, another thing that I had a chance to talk to Art Rooney II about was some special things that will be happening. The behind-the-scenes planning is starting. Let's take a listen to that.
Well, we'll certainly have a color rush game, and we'll identify that one soon. Once we digest the whole schedule. But one of the fun things I think we know we'll be scheduling this year will be to welcome our Hall of Famers back to receive their Hall of Fame rings. And then, of course, we'll induct another class of the Steelers Hall of Honor players, and so a lot of activity certainly that will be spread throughout the season, where we'll be welcoming back a number of different great Steelers who are being recognized. So that part will be a lot of fun, I think.
All right, we know fans love that, Triv, especially here in Color Rush. That's obviously always popular with Steelers Nation. And then, of course, anytime you can get a Hall of Famer in the building, fans in the building, that is definitely something to look forward to when you think about what the 2020 season was like.
Based on, the Steelers in the Hall of Fame this year, Missy, they may have to schedule a doubleheader to, adequately take care of everybody in terms of honoring them. But that's also, I think, an advantage. You may have never heard me say this before, and you'll probably never hear me say this again, but I think it's really helpful to be playing in that Hall of Fame game this year, because it gives them a fourth game, and given some of the young players that they potentially want to integrate into the lineup as quickly as possible from having a really unprecedented preseason last year to hopefully this year getting back to a much more recognizable sense of normalcy, and another chance for these guys to play a game and speed up the transition from college. I think that's going to be a good thing for the Steelers this year. And I can't imagine what that party's going to be like in Canton, Ohio, 4 days.
All right, I am going to write down what you said and remember that for future years. But here is our slate of the 4 preseason games. Last year, if the Hall of Fame game took place, the Steelers would have had 5. We know that's not the case this year, but August 5th, 8 p.m., that has been locked in for a while now. The Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio against the Dallas Cowboys. Then preseason week 1 for the Steelers will be at Philly. That's Thursday, August 12th. Week 2 will be here at home against the Lions Saturday, August 21st, and then week 3. It sounds weird to say because it's with the Carolina Panthers, but that is the final week of the preseason in Carolina, Friday, August 27th. Just your thoughts. I know this happens a lot, but playing the Lions in both the preseason and then the regular season.
Yeah, I don't think it's all that big a deal. These games are increasingly more for the younger players, and I think the coaching staffs will know how to handle that accordingly. 4 games is better than 5, and again, with the young players the Steelers are bringing in, more preseason games, the better. I promise you, I'm never going to say that again. But from the bottom of my heart this year, I think that preseason schedule is really advantageous given where the Steelers are at this particular time.
And that's why we're going to save what you just said to remind you. Anyways, let's take a listen to Art Rooney II on the preseason and, of course, the festivities with the Hall of Fame.
It's nice to have a preseason, let's put it that way. I think it's an important part of our schedule, an important part of player development. And so, having the first game of the year, certainly playing the Cowboys, anytime the Steelers and the Cowboys get together, it's always an attention grabber. And so I think it'll be a good way to get the season started. And we'll be the first ones out of the box this year, which is always interesting.
All right, well, there you have it, a look at the Steelers' 2021 regular season schedule and preseason. Triv, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah, just one more quick one. And again, you got to take these stats with a grain of salt because you don't really know from one year to the next who's going to be good and who isn't. But CBSSports.com rated everybody's schedule based on opponents' combined winning percentage from the previous season. Steelers have the toughest schedule in the league. Their opponents had a .574 winning percentage. The Ravens just behind the Steelers at .563. Maybe it plays out that way. Maybe it doesn't, but it's always good to be challenged, Missy. As that Hall of Famer Bill Cowher used to like to say, sometimes uncomfortable is a good thing.
All right, Triv, thanks for joining me, and thanks to everybody for joining us as well. That is going to do it for our Steelers schedule release special presented by UPMC. Thanks for joining us.